Welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I be your host, smAsho, aka Dan. We are streaming live to Twitch and we're starting things out looking at the sun in 94 angstroms, one of the ionized states of iron. Small active region south of the equator, moving just out of the Earth-facing zone there. This is a 48-hour view, by the way, from the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. And before we move on, I just wanted to talk a little bit about solar cycles. And based on these solar cycles, now this solon.info solar cycle 24 progress graph has recently been updated on May 2nd. And I'm going to forecast a large and sudden uptick in solar activity as the prolongation of the current solar minimum is about to end, in my opinion. If you want to read all about those different stats that are updated, check out solon.info/solar. And you can see some upticks in the solar polar fields and so on. So, archived daily reports updated May 1st. Comparison of cycles updated May 2nd. There's the comparison of cycle 24 to 12, 13, 14, and 16, as they're all similar cycles. And we were looking at the cycle 24 to 25 progress. So again, forecasting a sudden uptick in solar activity here. Won't be surprised to see that happen. That's my forecast. Now we're at helioviewer.org looking at the sun here in magnetic field as well as 171 angstroms. Let's fade out the fields. There's 304 angstroms. Filament down there in the southeast still as well as in the northeast. No sunspots. And I like that orange fade. Let's leave it on there. By the way, did you watch yesterday's Diamond Anvil video? Yes, it's the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash, episode 6, which is entitled GMO Mosquitoes, Pulsar Wind Nebula, and the Photosphere. Thanks to all of our new subs over on YouTube, and thanks to Diamond. Also, check us out on BitChute. We're planning on putting up an exclusive there coming soon. Let's talk about our mission. Now, if you want to read out the other entries of the mission, the first 6 entries, head to smashomash.com/forum/mission. Number 7 is to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. That's how science advances, folks. Let's get back to looking at the sun. Here's a 48-hour SDO movie of the 171 angstroms wavelength. And we don't see any coronal mass ejections, by the way, or anything like that. We'll show you the view from stereo A momentarily once we get into some more geomagnetic data. The KP index, which is a measure of the planetary average geomagnetism, still at 1 over the past 9 hours. Those are 3 hours each bar there, by the way, folks. Are you a sheeple? Are you listening to what the government's telling you to do, no matter how unconstitutional it might be? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Apparently in the Netherlands, this actual sheep wasn't really viewing the full moon, but somebody was photographing it. You can see the photo yourself if you go to spaceweather.com. And that 10.7 centimeter radio flux back down to 69. And you can see Venus is phasing here. 69 solar flux units is the current solar 10.7 centimeter radio flux, a measurement of radio frequency coming out of the outer corona of the sun, folks. By the way, the sun is the strongest radio source in the sky. We'll talk about the second strongest momentarily. Next, theplanetstoday.com, showing us the current state of affairs in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week. as Earth swings into the oppositional point between Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and the Sun. And Venus prepares to swing past. And Mercury emerges from behind the Sun. Next, looking at in-the-sky.org to check where stars are. It's 4:03 when I made the video. Do you know where your constellations are? Today's featured star is Vega. Not for any particular reason. Were you aware that Deneb is the brightest intrinsic object in the entire galaxy from the perspective of Earth? Next, going back to solar data here, looking at the GOES X-ray flux. A tiny little flare happened yesterday around 1700. That's 1700 universal time. Not even large enough flare to be in the B class. And again, we don't see any sunspots or major active regions. Proton flux remains flatline, no surprise there. And let's get into the cosmology segment for a quick moment. Now, yesterday on the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash, we talked with Diamond, aka David Moriello, who also owns not only Oppenheimer Ranch Project YouTube channel, but also Magnetic Reversal News. So go subscribe to those channels if you haven't yet. We'll be watching his Elon Musk called Neil Ferguson Lockdown Expert after we premiere our video. So if you haven't watched it, we've got a new series that we've started to make. It's twice a week, coming out Thursday and Sunday afternoons. The Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash, where I talk in a stilted fashion. Actually, I talk now in a stilted fashion about it. Anyway, episode 6 features GMO mosquitoes, talk about the photosphere and pulsar wind nebula analysis. Also, a little bit of talk about 40 lines for evidence of condensed matter, of evidence for condensed matter, Robitaille's paper from October 2013. And we talked fairly in depth about why we think sunspots appear dark. Got any theories? Well, Robitaille does, and I tend to concur. Remember, folks, Occam's razor. All things being equal, the simplest solution is typically the correct solution. Trust the observations, don't trust the fiction in cosmology, as the sun is the Rosetta Stone of all of cosmology. If you don't know what intercalate layers are, and this right here is part of the reason why sunspots appear dark. Read the paper if you haven't. Again, search for it. It's free all over the internet. 40 lines of evidence for condensed matter, the sun on trial, liquid metallic hydrogen as a solar building block. The sun has a real surface, folks. It's not made of a gaseous plasma, and it's not electric, so enjoy that. Let's look at the second strongest radio source in the sky, 3C405, a massive radio galaxy estimated to be 500 million light years away. Again, it's the second strongest radio source in the sky, folks, second only to the sun. If you don't think that's relevant, well, then you don't know radio astronomy, which I used to think was boring in the mid-90s, and I was told by astronomers and many people who were smarter than me, or who knew more about astronomy than me at least, that radio astronomy is super important and is the future of astronomy and cosmology in various ways. There are the transient outbursts from 3C405, and we do see a small uptick here over the past couple of years. It looks like a similar graph to Milky Way's Sagittarius A star, the core of the Milky Way galaxy's graph. If you want to look up transients yourself, head to the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Transient Monitor, the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory. It's good stuff. You can look up things like, I don't know, how about Cygnus X1, believed by people like Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking to be a black hole. It's the first widely accepted, quote, black hole. I'll keep calling it a massive radio source. And this is a highly variable X-ray source, as you can see from the graphs. Again, if you want to look this stuff up yourself, just head to the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory. And many of your favorite objects will be on there. Let's get back to data. Here's a real-time solar wind. And we see a recent ramping up of the solar wind density here. So again, those electrons not showing up today, I don't think, unless this drops back down to background levels. So the current state of affairs is phi angle of 140 degrees. It looks like we've got coronal hole magnetic connections happening repeatedly here. Solar wind density up to 8.3 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 335 kilometers a second. Background levels for the speed, slightly elevated levels for the density. Here is the magnetohydrodynamic pressure as calculated by the Space Weather Modeling Framework in the University of Michigan Geospace Model. That's 4 hours of data. We look at it daily. If you want to see what was happening around this time of day, and by the way, it's 4:09. If you want to see what happened on previous days, go back and watch our previous daily space weather videos. We've conveniently placed them in a playlist so you can view older content without scrolling through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of our videos. It's all available at youtube.com/smAsho. And more recently, the more recent videos are available also at bitchute.com/smAsho. Here's the ground geomagnetic perturbations over the past 4 hours. And we're going to talk about magnetic excursions for a quick moment here. Here is the current geomagnetic model. And as I've said repeatedly, we've got a North Pole here over northern Canada, a North Pole here over Siberia, placing a net pole somewhere around here, east of Greenland, and the South Pole has crept into the southern Indian Ocean, south of Australia, and it appears to be moving in that direction as it's left the Antarctic continent long ago. This is updated as of the year 2020. So there's the current geomagnetic model. If you weren't aware of the geomagnetic excursion, just look it up. The search I did was simply for the USGS releases new magnetic model. Click on the World Magnetic Model, and you'll be able to find this map there for yourself. It's a PDF document. There's the map. Let's get back to more magnetic data here. GOES magnetometer, still looking spiky. In fact, it looks a bit like a vampire here. So I don't know if it's got fangs. Maybe it has horns. The GOES magnetometer. The GOES 16 still sending data. The GOES 15 still not for weeks. And we're expecting to see continued spikes in this. This right here could have been the crossing of the polarity boundary. And let's talk about the polarity boundary. We see a North Pole portion of the field showing up here in the Earth portion of the current sheet, and that heliospheric current sheet primarily charged up with South Pole polarity, coming through with a little North Pole polarity. And we're very close to the crossover there for that, and that will cause sudden shifts in the BTBZ, probably the phi angle, and certainly the GOES magnetometer data. There's the last image, and as long as that green field doesn't evaporate as it has on this image, we may already be in the North Pole oriented portion of the current sheet. And let's go out to stereo A real quick, which is, by the way, located out here, and take a look at the coronagraph out there to show 0 coronal mass ejections. Although there is a lot of plasma building up here, the Earth would be out, not there, here. And the Earth is out in this direction, quite close to the ecliptic plane. So a little bit of plasma building up there. That could be a small coronal mass ejection fixing to kick off. Nothing to worry about or write home. And here's a line of sight field plot, which shows the B field in blue, and you don't see any big wobbles of the B field there. Let's move on. Electron flux still very low. There are the relativistic electrons greater than 2 mega electron volts. Here's a total electron content forecast, and it is quite low. So everybody's GPSs should be working fairly well, even around the equator at noon, until this suddenly changes. And no forecast on that. There's the GOES electron flux. which includes greater than or equal to 2 mega electron volts. Still quite low. And I think there's a huge electron bridge out there between us and the sun, which could accelerate a coronal mass ejection. We won't get into the physics of it, because this is the daily space weather. And here is 6 hours of the ionosphere, which is still looking a little wobbly to me. And sudden charge up, charge downs in the ionosphere there, mainly on the nighttime portion. Here's the latest image. That was 6 hours of data. And there's the latest image coming in at 8 o'clock Universal Time, and it's looking pretty normal there. Next, we'll look at windy.com to see the pressure maps, and thank God it's Friday. We'll let this advance via the GFS forecast into tomorrow, and we're hoping to see snow here in Pennsylvania. I'm located in Lehigh Valley. We're not expecting to see any, probably only in the Pocono Mountains, but expecting some possible snow early tomorrow morning in the Poconos and at higher elevations. There's where pressure is expected to be via the GFS forecast around 12 noon tomorrow. Have you told your friends about this graph? Now, there are a lot of people that don't know the first thing about atmospheric physics, or physics in general, who think that the planet is warming and think that it's because of CO2. Please show them this graph. Just do a web search for 600 million years carbon dioxide versus temperature, and you'll find all kinds of versions of this graph. And note the blue line, which is the average global temperature, and its lack of correlation to the red line, atmospheric CO2, going all the way back to about 550 million years ago, when, more like 530 million years ago, when carbon dioxide levels were at 7,000 parts per million. They're a little over 400 parts per million now. Higher rainfall, oh my gosh, it's time to be scared. Could higher rainfall amplify global warming? Higher rainfall could amplify global warming. Survey said. Whoops. Well, this article from Cosmos magazine is all about how carbon dioxide must be the climate control knob, something that I was being taught starting in about 1987 in my first Earth science class, where our teacher told us to get our schist together. Get it? Get your schist together? It's a geology joke. It's really funny. And while that teacher is probably a complete Covidiot on this day, he started to teach us that, oh no, Florida's going to be underwater by the year 2000. And guess what? All that sea level rise never came. And guess what? Carbon dioxide is not the control lever for the climate. If you want to lose an IQ point, please read this Cosmos magazine article about how higher rainfall could amplify global warming. Here's a hint. It can't. In fact, higher rainfall is associated with colder temperatures, not warmer temperatures, because if you, at a given barometric pressure and humidity, if you simply lower the temperature, you'll get to dew point, which causes this thing we call precipitation. So lower temperature is actually associated with precipitation, not higher temperatures. Sorry, learn atmospheric physics. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe we should do an entire series for the rest of the existence of this channel on atmospheric physics. And it looks like we saw another big earthquake in the past 24. It's a 6.1 at Papua New Guinea. Let's hope no tsunamis were generated there, as that is a dangerous spot. And we see no current tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat. And I don't even see that on the list. Check it out. Anyway, let's go down the list of the past 24 of earthquakes. We're only going to note things over a 6. Check it out. That quake at Papua New Guinea at over 460 kilometers depth. It's a 6.1. If it happened on the surface, it would be about a 7.5. So that would be very serious, much more likely to generate a tsunami. Let's check the location of it. Hopefully it didn't do too much damage, although Papua New Guinea is fairly accustomed to quakes. And there's a location of that. It looks like it's fairly sparsely populated in that area, would be my guess. And let's continue up the list here. So there's another deep quake at Papua New Guinea also, just to the west of that one. And let's see, that came in about 4 hours after the 6.1 magnitude quake. So I have a feeling that it's not done rocking there. A 4.6 comes in at 16:35 yesterday in western South America, in Chile actually, and it's at 124 kilometers depth. Here's another deep quake at Alaska. It's a 4.2, the largest deep quake we've seen in that area for quite a while. It's at 196 kilometers. Here's a 4.5 at Afghanistan. That's at 192 kilometers. So big time deep quake event going on, folks. There's another deep quake. It's only a 2.8 magnitude, but it's 123 kilometers depth. Here's another deep quake, a 4.7 at Peru. It's at 128.2 kilometers depth. So lots of deep quakes kicking off, and one over a 6 magnitude. Let's look at volcanoes. And here's the current state of affairs. Kluchevskoy producing a 20,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Abiko erupting, 6,000-foot flight level there. Flight level 6,000 at Aso. Flight level 9,000, so uptick at Sakurajima, I think. Semaru, flight level 13,000. Tokono exploding, flight level 7,000. Sangay exploding, flight level 19,000. Revenador exploding, flight level 14,000. And Nevado State Chilean producing sporadic volcanic ash emissions. Please do not attempt a back handspring over the caldera. And we've moved on to the oh my god, it's so scary section of the video where I talk about Covidiots. Are you aware that indeed you are essential personnel? All right, son, I'll see you when you rise. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Are you aware that you're essential personnel? Are you aware that the government is not essential personnel? Why do you pay taxes, folks? Why do you pay taxes? Let me tell you why you pay taxes. For air superiority. So Chinese and Russian bombers can't drop bombs on you. That's the main reason. Everything else is subservient to that. In other words, we pay taxes for things like road building, for courts, police, fire, and ambulance. What don't we pay for? Useless bureaucrats who create laws that are completely ineffective and useless. Just like the bureaucrats themselves, which is probably why they become bureaucrats themselves, and they behave as a leech on society, sucking taxpayer dollars out of it instead of contributing anything besides complete Covidiots. Now, we talk about it regularly on the YouTube channel, so thanks to our new subscribers, and please subscribe over here if you enjoy the content, as well as on BitChute. One of the things you can do when you're in lockdown is play Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. It's free open source software. You can build your own maps. You can play as the Germans. You can dress up as the Americans while playing Germans if you play covert ops. They're all objective maps. Again, it's free. Check it out. It's at Splash Damage. Just type in Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. There's all kinds of sites where you can download it from. I do believe it is the best game of all time. So if you're new to FPS or old to FPS and you've never played Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, check it out. Here's some tidbits. Oh, here's another advice. Head to et.trackbase.net. Now, I almost exclusively play on the FA recruiting server. There is a huge, thriving, lively community when it comes to enemy territory. Lots of Euros still play it. Lots of people all around the world still play it. You don't need to have a fast computer. You can have a completely old, beat-up PC, and you'll be able to run this game just fine, most likely. So come play on FA recruiting. And if you want to follow me, it's $$SMASH_O''MASH. That's the clan tag, and we're looking to resurrect the Skilled Fraternity clan. We won't get into it. Let's play a little clip of what it looks like to own. Now, this is actually me playing here. I shot the video myself, and this is our team playing what's called a scrim, a competition match. And what happens here is we won this so fast thanks to our astute trick jumper, Tom. Watch, he's out of the frame before you can even see what's happening. I think we might have set a world record on this map here. I'm not exactly sure, but it didn't last long for the other team. This is me reviving my teammate and then using his spawn shield to avoid enemy fire. Here's me shooting one of their engineers right in the head. Dink! Anyway, check it out, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Again, it's free. It doesn't require a fast PC. And let's talk about safe and effective.
Hello,
something
this
that
is Tony Hiller from Real Clan.
Something that governments aren't. Governments are not safe or effective, as they do nothing but leech money out of the productive economy. So please watch this video called Safe and Effective by Tony Heller, one of our recommended channels. And let's play a teaser clip.
New Mexico not only has the whole state locked down, but he's also placed one city under martial law.
Oh, he's placed a city under martial law in New Mexico. Isn't that special? Let's talk about getting outside, something that you should do during the Covidiots scamdemic. Here's what No Malarkey Joe's been doing. He's been coloring with that guy Peel from Key and Peele, and coloring in some fake Wayfarers here, some fake Ray-Ban aviators using a magic marker. And well done, Joe. It looks like you've stayed within the lines. Please get outside. Please get some sunlight. And please follow me on Instagram if you want to see some behind-the-scenes stuff.
So today's lulls on the trail included saying hi to a hiker who was also unmasked. And I said, "Run, a human!" And she said, "Just as long as there's no dogs."
So I don't know really what that meant, but she wasn't wearing a mask, and for that, we thank you. Have you been reading Zero Hedge? Were you aware that Zero Hedge has been banned from Twitter? They still allow you to share stuff on Twitter, which is the best. Were you aware that COVID-19 is less deadly than we thought? Who would have known? Oh, that's right. I've been saying for months that the mortality rate's going to drop down below 0.1%. That's 0.1%, folks. And let's just move on here, because we're on Twitter. I don't know if you're aware. Check us out over there. I've actually been tweeting, believe it or not. While I'm not a huge fan of the platform, and I'm having a little trouble navigating here, folks. Anyway, there's our page. And we put all the videos up there and stuff to make it a little easier to share. So if you are on social media, again, please share our content there. And please spike pile drive the coronavirus. Your ancestors survived much, much worse than this scamdemic. Let's talk about Covidiots. We've got a whole section on the smAshomash.com/forum about Covidiots, as well as one about coronavirus. So, Governor Tom Wolf has extended PA stay-at-home orders for Pennsylvania counties still in red phase until June 4th, which is why we need to recall the governor of Pennsylvania. Let's get rid of him. I'm through. I'm not putting up with government anymore. I've officially exited society in spirit. So if you see me in society, I'm not really there. Have you been buffaloed into a binary way of thinking? Do you look like a complete Covidiot going out in public wearing a mask? Are you familiar with Pennsylvania's top Covidiots? This Covidiot here is named Tom Wolf. That's the, quote, governor, and quote, of Pennsylvania. And this Covidiot here, former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine, is the Physician General of Pennsylvania. Both of these Covidiots need to be fired and sued. So this is why I'm shopping for attorneys, mainly because of those two Covidiots. Achtung, which means attention in German. Achtung, du bist verboten to go out in public. In other words, prohibited by dictate. Have governments made things
verboten
through fiat? In other words, you are
verboten
to do certain things because somebody said so? That's not the way the U.S. Constitution works, folks. So please, exercise your constitutional rights and recall your governor too, as we've already been circulating petitions and doing various things to get rid of Governor Tom Wolf. Please leave a comment about the improprieties of your state, Governor. I was not aware of New Mexico. I don't have time to follow 49 other states and D.C. when Covidiot Tom Wolf and his Covidiotic, quote, physician general has turned Pennsylvania into shambles of its former self, thanks to something that's probably less deadly than the seasonal flu. Here are the jet streams of the Western world, and they're highly concentrated over the eastern portion of the United States right now, as well as all over the place in the southern hemisphere. You can see some extreme meridional jet stream flow making for some cold waters in the South Pacific. Here are the eastern jets. And it's looking to be a cold day in the northern Middle East once again as Arctic air is being injected. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. Some extreme dry air there off the west coast of Africa. Here are the water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Here's a lightning map, and we've got some severe storms striking the U.S. right now as we make the video. Shout out to Tulsa. If you're in Tulsa, go look southeast. You may see some sprites up there, as that is a severe thunderstorm line. And heads up to Fort Smith, Hot Springs, and Little Rock. Little Rock. I'm sure there's no corruption going on there. There's thunder rolling in, though. That I can say for sure. So check out lightningmaps.org the next time you hear thunder. Freak out your friends, freak out your foes, and forecast thunder. Tell people that you're Thor and that you decided to quit the Avengers. Next, we're looking at the U.S. Doppler radar map, and Oklahoma has had basically the entire state swept across by severe thunderstorms, maybe save for the Panhandle. And let's move on to look at the water vapor map, and I'm sure we'll zoom in on that area. There's the current water vapor environment. And it looks like that stuff's going to move almost due east, more like east-southeast. And let's zoom in on that zone over Oklahoma, where we're seeing some massive pressure gradients form there. And we've got some huge compression here as this dry air comes down and collides. It smashes and it mashes its way into that moist air and constrains it from moving to the north, creating additional pressure gradient. We've also got some overlapping systems down here. You can see this upper level low pressure system moving over the top of this dry air, creating a massive temperature and pressure inversion in that part of the atmosphere. And we're going to look at one more zone here. Once again, it's the zone over my head, as sometimes I'm interested in what my actual local weather is. By the way, side note, folks, I often make these videos and then I go outside and I go, darn, I forgot to forecast my own weather. So I'm trying to do a little less of that. And anyway, there's what's going on over Pennsylvania and the Northeast. And once again, we've got actually two different systems here. We've got some moist air moving over the top, and there's going to be some temperature pressure inversions here also, but nothing like what's going on over Oklahoma and Texas. Thanks to our patrons for being assistant and associate producers. Thanks to our subscribe stars. We need lots more funding to accomplish our goals in 2020, and we are way behind, not just because of Covidiots, but because of lack of funding. So please share our content. Thanks, Smash Team, for interacting, leaving comments, sharing on your social media. Please do so, as we're having a little bit of trouble gaining traction on the channel. We've got hundreds and hundreds of videos about space weather, as well as dozens about cosmology segments. And let's move on and look at the local yellow dwarf and intensitygram to show you a 0 of sunspots. Here's the colorized magnetogram. A couple little active regions there, the main one down here, nothing to write home about. And let's look at one more view before we close things out and call it a day. How about the 131 angstroms? We haven't viewed it yet today on this video. So here's a 48-hour view of the local yellow dwarf in 131 angstroms. Here's me vanishing. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the Covidiots be absent from your galaxy and the atherosclerosis absent from your arteries. And signing off from the Smash Bunker,